Today, I want to share with you the vibe coding stack that ships, leading you down the decision path over 7 layers of tools you need to choose in order to really have a blueprint of a tool stack that scales with you when you want to build any SaaS app. Otherwise, there are dangers ahead. Let's dive in. So here's the problem. There are a lot of one-shot tools out there that promise you that if you type in this one prompt, your whole SaaS is going to be built. But I have real people coming in here to the Pirate Skills community every month that are telling me, I really hit this wall of complexity. Suddenly nothing worked anymore. Suddenly payment provider options became flaky because they went down one system without ever learning a little bit the behind the scenes of what it takes to build real software. I'm bringing this to you from the perspective of a non-developer, and I think that is important. All of you really advanced developers in here, you will probably take away something, but you will point out this and that mistake, and that is totally fine. What I'm trying to do today is to explain it to somebody who is not coming from the developer world. And I tried to get that information out of a developer, and the amount of complexity they just take for granted is insane. Even I'm being told regularly at the Vibe Coding Cologne meetups that people don't understand half of the words I'm saying, and I'm not a developer. And so we very quickly get into this place where we assume things are understandable, but today I want to break it down and help you with the decisions that make it much more likely that you will build a real solid SaaS. So what's the big deal? What are the problems? The problems are here. It starts most of the time with debugging. You try to build your first features of your first software and suddenly something breaks. And within those one-shot tools, you often don't have the ability to debug appropriately. So what do more advanced people do? They kind of get the code out, put it into something like Cursor and debug it there, then continue working, which is madness. Yeah. Then if you want to ever extend your abilities, of what I later will call the hub, with additional functionalities, so that, for example, they can talk to your database, to your payment provider, etc., to your email service, then you're pretty limited. Yeah, you're limited by whatever the provider is currently supporting. You don't even get to own, most of the time, your own data. Sometimes there are integrations with external databases, but sometimes you just have to take what they have, and then all of your user data is in there, and you have very limited control. Then, if you want to collaborate with your future, maybe potential teammates, there has been years of experience with Git that often just goes out of the windows if you're using limited tools, and it's harder to work together. Then, whenever something new comes out, like, for example, MCP servers, skills, etc., you have to wait for the platform to support that instead of just jumping on the newest opportunity, which might, to be honest, sometimes be a good thing. And then the last one, which is really tough, payment provider complications. 6 months ago, I didn't see any Stripe integrations with more limited tools. Now I start seeing them pop up, but be warned, as soon as you want to have something a bit more custom, you need to understand the complexities behind there. Even if you choose one of those tools later, which is totally fine, after this article, you will understand where are the limitations a bit better, where you want to make trade-offs. So what you need to decide between, do I really want the simplicity plus the limitations, or do I need to start really understanding how product and software development works, but get a lot more of the complexity in here? At the end of the day, I recommend that you build yourself a tool stack that compounds and that you become intimately familiar with. It doesn't matter what you choose exactly, as long as you become good at that. And a good compounding tool stack is not just picking the very best of everything that somebody on Reddit tells you. It's about choosing tools that work really well together, that are very AI friendly. And the best example I had was this. The first time it really hit me that this is a thing was when I was setting up Cursor, and I created the replacement of what is now pirateskills.com. I learned to commit that to GitHub through Cursor and then integrate that with Vercel. And after that, every time I talked, literally with the AI agent, voice to text, with my website, 30 seconds later, there was a change live on my website. And this relationship between like Cursor, GitHub, Vercel is one good example, of these very smooth compounding relationships that we want to choose. So how does it look like? There are 7 layers where you need to decide something. Let's zoom in. First, we need to decide what do we put in the middle of this? Like, what is your AI hub? Is it going to choose something like Lovable, Cursor, or Claude Code? Then how do you ship your code? Do you choose like a web framework? Where do you host the code? And then design. What does it look like, the app that you are building? And then data. Where does the data live? How is it protected? Then identity. How do your users sign up, log in, reset their password, and so on? And then we need to cover revenue. Everything that doesn't have like a pricing plan that actually works is just like a little demo. But if you want to have a real product, you'll probably need to charge. So we need to cover revenue, something like Stripe. Then layer 7, a bit optional. You can also put a lot of operational things like analytics and project management into your tech stack, which I always do, but I'll not force you to do that. So this we want to cover, and for each of those layers, we want to make a decision, and I'll help you do that with this little tool that is embedded in this article. The first layer is the hub, the central nervous system of your product development. It is often either like a chat-based AI builder, something, think of a Lovable, Bold, V0, Base 44, something like that. Or you go a bit more technical, which I recommend, but not all the way crazy, are like AI-powered code editors like Cursor, Windsurf, Anti-Gravity, and so on. And then there are, for the crazy ones, the purely terminal-based ones like Claude Code, all of the CLIs, Gemini CLI, Codex CLI, etc. In my experience, for most vibe coders, the solid middle is a Cursor. It has the biggest breadth of being beginner-friendly and allowing even the most experienced developers to go as far and as unfiltered as they like. But if you feel some terminal nostalgia and you love looking at that, then Claude Code is the current obvious way to go. But most of us non-developers just don't have that, so deal with it that we prefer Cursor. So the one thing that we are not discussing here is the AI model, but I'll do it here in the video. At the moment, the clear choice is something between like Claude Code Opus 4.6 and OpenAI's GPT 5.3 Codex. Somewhere there, Gemini's trying to play, but nobody really wants it yet. But I tell you, in 6 months, that could look totally different. But you use your AI tool within that. So let's start with the first choices. Here, you've already seen that I've made a choice, but let me reset this for you so we can start from the beginning. All right, I reset the choices, and here we go. The first thing is we choose the hub, and there are always like 3 paths to go, all the 3 layers down. Let's call it as simple as possible on the left, then the normal experienced vibe coder level that I generally would recommend for the non-developers like me, and then the more developer-oriented advanced alternatives. So when you go and choose your hub, you can choose your one-stop shop and say, okay, everything should stay in something like Lovable, Bold, V0, Base 44, and Replit. For them, most of the caveats that I mentioned above do apply. the compromises, the limitations, the sudden wall of complexity. I'm sure that they are going to improve more and more and more over the upcoming months, and hopefully all of the technical stuff gets at the end abstracted away and a Stripe integration is like that. I'm truly hoping for that. But right now, in the beginning of 2026, we are not there yet. You will make significant compromises. If you want to start playing around, or if you only build internal prototypes, nothing that a real paying user needs to touch, wonderful, go for it. Then in the middle, we have the AI-powered code editors like Cursor and Windsurf and Anti-Gravity and Codex, evolving on a weekly basis, super fast. Right now, my default recommendation is going for Cursor, but I have heard great things about Anti-Gravity and Codex as well. Windsurf, I don't know, maybe they need to do something again to appear more on the map, but right now they feel like they're drifting out a little bit. These are all very, very solid choices. This is what I would recommend. They give you a sort of simplicity to work with them while not putting you putting like a fence around you where you have to kind of wait until they decide that certain features are accessible to you, because you have all of the freedom to do whatever you like. But it increases the level of understanding necessary to build good software with it. Always feel free to add something else. You can just choose here and say something like, I don't know, whatever you like, and you can choose that instead of the choices that I presented to you. And then on the more advanced side, we have, of course, Claude Code, which is like probably the single closest thing we have come to anything that feels like AGI. A very extremely flexible code editor, fantastic pricing plan, but mostly like for more advanced people. It's very easy to use something like Cursor in the beginning, and then later just add Claude Code or any of these CLIs on top of that. Yeah, but I tried to use Claude Code for a while. It was a bigger jump than I thought. I had more bugs. I ran against more mistakes than I ever had with Cursor. But this might be just due to my being used to Cursor. I'll give Claude Code another chance, 100%. But right now, it costs me nerves. I lose productivity whenever I use it. But maybe that's just a skill issue, and I'm totally fine with accepting that. All right, you also see these percentages. This, of course, I'm the only person who currently voted on this, but by the time you watch this, maybe other people have voted on this as well, giving you an idea of what the readers of this article would have chosen. Yeah, the simpler, the medium, the more advanced step, and each tool. I hope that's really interesting to you as well. All right, that is the first thing you have to choose. Let's continue. Second layer. The shipping engine. You need to write code in a certain way, or at least the AI does. You need to get this code to the user, and you want to maybe choose a framework that has been established and that you can rely on and that the AI knows really well. So let's look into our choices here. When you have chosen any of the builder of the chat-based AI builders, let's say we choose V0, yeah, which recently got a very nice update. There will be some pre-chosen path already selected down here, because when you have chosen that path, you try to stay within that tool. So you're trying to get the code into the hand of your users, which is called deploying, through what the tool provides. But I'm, for example, choosing an AI-based code editor with Cursor, and now I'll stay in this middle lane. Yeah, you don't have to. You can always move to the right. That is usually possible, but it's very hard to choose something further left. So I've chosen Next.js. which is maintained by a company called Vercel, but the main business model of Vercel is hosting. So this is a 2-in-1 combo for me. I love to use Next.js. It kind of replaces my mental model of having like a WordPress page where you have clear structures. This is how a code base is structured, and we don't have to understand that. But the AI, once it knows, hey, we are building a Next.js app, suddenly knows all of the conventions that are behind that. Yeah, the biggest alternative is using something like SwellKit. If you have, for whatever reason, something against Next.js, on the custom framework path, it's infinite. But you can, for example, like instead of just choosing Vercel friendly stuff, you can choose something like Nuxt on Netlify, yeah, Stack on Railway, but you can host everything wherever you like. You just probably want to put it in here and use something else and choose whatever you like. But these are the big frameworks that you can use. Yeah, I'll treat any suggestion here that you put in the other box as ideas on what to put in the predetermined ones. And maybe I kick something out, like if you say, hey, Docker plus Fly.io doesn't make sense, you need to have more context on top of that, I know, then please give me that feedback and I'll fix that. But for most people, Next.js, very solid choice. AI knows it really well. Vercel for hosting, fantastic for developer experience. You're not counting pennies here because you can get it for $5 less on Cloudflare. Vercel always has the opinion of the whole developer experience is their problem and they have to solve it for us. Yeah, but something like Cloudflare more has the opinion of, here are the tools, you're responsible for knowing how to use them. That is okay. If you're on the advanced bracket, absolutely fine. But if you're a vibe coder like me without a developer background, please, this is a good solid choice once you want to move away from the chat builders. Okay, we decided on our ship engine, and that usually works like this. You tell the AI in Cursor, hey, I want to build a Next.js app. And then they will help you set up Next.js, GitHub, connect that with Vercel, and boom, all of your changes that coming out of your mouth through the voice to text features are going live on your website within 30 seconds. Fantastic. That's what we want. That is as comfortable as it gets as compared to the chat builders where this is, of course, with the maximum convenience, but we can get very, very close to that with this setup here. Right, that was layer 2. Layer 3 is the design layer. How is your app looking like? Do you want to just let the AI choose? Do you want to choose maybe a professional component library so that your user interface looks always professional? Or do you want to make all of the decisions yourself, customize everything? That is the next stage. So the easiest level to just say, like, come on, let the AI choose. There is nothing to choose here. The AI chooses the design stack, the colors, the typography, whatever. You can, of course, still say, no, I don't like that color. You can please don't choose the blue and purple standard AI colors. But that's totally fine if you leave it to the AI. If you want to take more responsibility, choose an AI-friendly component library, for example, like I choose all the time, ShatCN UI plus Tailwind. The advanced people will say something like, oh, all of these apps look the same because they all use ShatCN. They're all customizable. Chill out. It looks very professional. But you can make choices. You can use another UI library like Chakra that is simple to use. All you need to do is tell your AI in Cursor, hey, I want to build this Next.js app and I want to use ShatCN UI components and Tailwind for styling, and done. At the end, I collect all of your decisions into a prompt that you can copy paste and have another discussion with AI of your choice if this makes sense or not. Then there's another beautiful component library called 21st Dev, which is like a collection of all kinds of component libraries and custom built components. And it's insane. They just provide you the prompt that you can put into something like Cursor, and then fantastic component just show up in front of you. For the custom design system, yeah, choose whatever you like. Yeah, go for like Radix or Base UI plus Tailwind, choose Material UI, which is a huge enterprise-ready component library by Google. And there are many, many, many other choices that you guys know, so put them in here. I choose ShadCN UI plus Tailwind. Same choices. Level 4. Now the data. You have to decide, where does your data live? Do you want to just take whatever the chat builder tool gives you? Do you want to choose something that is a bit managed for you, which is something I prefer, something like Supabase or Convex? And then, or do you want to roll it all on your own, like host your own database, decide how data is inputted and outputted into that? And this is the next choice we need to make. If you have chosen the chat builder path, just stick to whatever the default is. Most of them have some type of Supabase integration, but some have like tables. Just look what they have. Try to live within that system. For the middle ground that I've chosen, my default at the moment is a Supabase. It's a completely managed so-called Postgres database. It gives me all kinds of extra features that I want, and I'm looking at an alternative called Convex, who acts even more like as a complete backend as a service. So my choice is Supabase, but you can go as crazy as you like in vibe coding. You can choose Neon or PlanetScale, who do like complete enterprise-ready stuff. You can host it on Amazon. I'm very curious to see what you do. I chose something like Supabase for here. So my user data lives safe in here. Supabase also has one feature called auth. This is how users log in, the identity layer. So some of those tools have built-in authentication solutions, some have more managed solution, or you choose something complete custom and open source. So that's the next layer. So with built-in, again, just use whatever the platform is recommending and has super simple integrations for. I usually choose a managed auth solution because I do not trust myself to roll my own auth. Don't do it if you don't have a deep background and understanding of that. Even when you're a developer, it's much too risky. And there are very B2B friendly services like Clark. I'm building mostly B2B SaaS apps right now. So that is the one I choose. Beautiful ready-made component library, good integrations with Supabase and with Stripe. And we also use that in our BuilderForge courses. But then maybe you think more in a B2C sense. You have the expectation of some point having hundreds of thousands of users that are maybe even on a free tier. This is not where Clark is ideal, but maybe Supabase is there. But there you have to already do a lot more work, to make it even look closely as good as what you would get with Clark. And you want to do custom, no problem. There are many alternatives, BetterAuth, Auth.js, Kind. Some of them open source, some of them hosted alternatives, but I choose Clark. So now people can sign in, sign out, they can store their data, app looks good, I can host it, and I can talk with my voice to it and make all of these changes. And then there is layer 6, the revenue layer. Everything that doesn't have a payment plan is just a fancy demo to me. And there's everything from having a simple, quick checkout to extreme customized, credit-based, usage-based hosting. So let's make that choice as well. So the quick checkout is whatever the chat builder tool integrates with. Most of them now are starting to have some type of limited Stripe integration. I'll keep a close eye on that. But I prefer just to hook into Stripe directly or alternatively through Clark. Then there are merchant of record solutions like Lemon Squeezy and Pedal. Lemon Squeezy got bought by Stripe, and I've already seen the first managed service features within Stripe. What this essentially means that you don't have to worry about taxes. Usually pay 2 or 3% more in terms of fees. compared to not managed services, but you have to make your choice here. I choose Stripe. And then there are other developer-first platforms. Stripe, of course, is as advanced as you want to take it. But there's Polar, Pedal, Lemon Squeezy. Take your pick. I choose Stripe. Now we have chosen everything that is absolutely key. But I added a 7th layer to put in everything that I wasn't able to neatly fit in. What about measuring what your users are doing? Yeah, and campaign success. And how do you send emails when you want to send out a newsletter, or transactional emails when people sign up, and so on? What about project management while you're building your app, as we discussed in our vibe management article? What about automation of repetitive tasks, of maybe AI agents, etc.? So these are just called the operations layer. And you can just choose, hey, do you want to set this up or not? If you want to skip it for now, totally fine. But let's choose to show you what I mean. So I'm a marketer and I'm an analytics nerd. So I make my analytics choices very soon. Within that, I'm completely in love with Post Hoc right now. Maybe that's subject to change, but I'm falling more and more in love. It replaced probably like 100 or 200 euros worth of analytics tools per month for free. So it replaced everything from Google Analytics, Hotjar, anything session recording related, data pulling tools like Supermetrics, where I got the data from Meta and Google Ads. That's all just in the free tier of Post Hoc. And if I should ever exceed it, I'm sure the pricing is fine because they're very committed to keeping it as cheap as possible. But of course, there are other alternatives like Mixpanel I used in the past a lot, also for mobile apps, or very privacy-focused solutions like Plausible. So after analytics, you might want to send out emails. I like to use Resend for that. It's a very developer-friendly way, and it neatly fits into the React.js tool stack that I have started to learn throughout here. And it takes the idea of sending out emails just the way you vibe code your website. Now, I vibe code my emails. I love that. And I wouldn't go back to something like, please go away with that. And then there are other alternatives to that, like loops that are less like, they don't look as technical. They have more of a visual editor. They're marketing friendly, a bit pricier, but it's fine. Or like a solid, good old solution like SendGrid for transactional emails. I like Resend. I'm looking at loops at the moment, but let's stick with Resend. That is my current stack. Next is, I have found out for myself that building software, like anything else I'm doing, is something where you can always do more than you can do. You need to prioritize, you need to organize. It is all fun. Yeah, and I discussed it in my vibe management article, how I completely use AI for project management with Linear. And there are other alternatives, GitHub projects, Notion, whatever you like. I love doing my project management in Linear for vibe coding projects. Then last but not least, the automation category. Often we have a need like, hey, could you please start this process? Could you wrangle this video and cut it down into different subsegments, etc.? And you don't always want to have this run on your own service for reasons. Might take too long, might be too expensive. Or you want to integrate with a third-party tool, like, let's say, Google Calendar, that you don't want to have directly in your code base. So voila, there are tools like n8n, Make, and Zapier that easily allow you to do that. I choose n8n for that most of the time, and that is my complete stack. So if you scroll down, you can now see your complete stack here in a nice overview. So my personal stack is now, as a central piece of software, I use Cursor. Within Cursor, I mostly use Cloud Opus 4.6. I write my code in a web framework called Next.js that is being pushed to GitHub and through that to Vercel. Then I do most of my styling with Shadcn UI and Tailwind. Then I host my data in Supabase. I use Clerk for authentication. I handle everything revenue related with Stripe. And I use Postdoc for analytics, Resend for email, Linear for project management, and n8n for all long-form automation stuff. So you have this now. You can just reset it if you want to take that again, or you could just start a conversation with your friendly AI like ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, whatever you like. You just copy paste it and have a discussion about this and get your app work started. But feel free to use this to challenge those assumptions, change your decisions. This was one of the hardest ones for me to figure out in the beginning because I didn't have the background to judge it. So I talked to a lot of my developer friends and got some explanations that I could understand and that turned out to be long-term good solutions, but many things developers simply overcomplicate. I hope I've broken it down to a complication level that is acceptable for non-developers, but I'm sure I've talked and used many words that are weird. Last piece of warning, like watch out. Don't try to do everything at once. Use the builder codex that goes into the nitty-gritty of how to set everything up with the stack that I've just shown you, that I've chosen. Really, step by step. Just start with level 1. Get to a website, build your first fun feature, and then build out the rest. Don't get confused by Reddit or recommendations from the AI. It's okay, but it's essentially just big, huge FOMO engine going out. Everyone telling you what you're using is bad. Just get good. Get good at what you have chosen. There are people like Peter Levels who have been building indie software since years very publicly using a super old school vanilla PHP stack. Yeah, that no one today would touch. He loves it. He's good with it. He makes a couple of $100K a month with it. It's all fine. All right. So if you want to get into doing that, you're very welcome to check out the Builder Forge. It's a 6-week program where we set everything up with you together, build a project together, and teach you what you need to know if you want to have it more hands-on. The free version is essentially the Builder Codex, but I would love to get to know you. See you at any one of our upcoming events. There is always a product development event called the Builder Lab that is free, and then a growth-oriented lab event that is also free, and the Forges, those are the paid 6 weeks programs. Yeah, if you like this, sign up for the Captain's Insights newsletter. Tell me your question and answers. Thank you very much for joining me today, and I'll see you next Monday. Bye-bye.